been over a year since Tekken 8 has been released, and since then it's been through a good few updates, balance changes, and criticism from the player base. A good few other fighting games have come out during its run, its main competition being Street Fighter 6 that was released June the year before Tekken 8 was released. However, the question I'm here to answer today is Tekken 8 still worth playing at all, and especially in 2025? So, first of all, I think we have to understand what Tekken 8 was supposed to be for the franchise as a whole before we go about this. So, firstly, it was supposed to bring in new characters that people would be able to play, whether they were in the main roster or as a DLC, since people were expecting DLCs. Kind of like how there was DLCs in Tekken 7. Tekken 7 had been out for over half a decade, mind you, with a variety of characters to play. New characters were added into the main roster of Tekken 8 like Reina, Victor, and Azucena, returning characters like Jun, who have been in previous games, just not Tekken 7, and characters that were DLC like Leroy in the previous game that are now in the main roster. So if you are just to buy the game, there will be many characters for you to try. I personally think two of the new characters, Reina and Victor, are quite literally polar opposites in difficulty, where Reina is one of the hardest characters you can play, and Victor is, in my opinion, one of the easiest characters to play in the game. I think this gives you a chance to find out where you're at if you're trying to find new characters to play and see how good you are, and just to find out how hard and more difficult character is to learn. They also added a new system mechanic, which is the heat system. Essentially a new offensive mechanic that puts players in a temporary empowered state at which they can perform unique moves and have different attack properties to what the character would normally have. This made the game essentially more aggressive compared to 7. One of the main things that has been going on between the games is the graphical upgrade from 7 to 8, since Tekken 8 is actually the first game of the series to be made in Unreal Engine 5, which is a newer game engine essentially. Obviously they also have been making multiple attempts to improve the online experience and the rollback netcode, but I think that's always something to be improved in like any game. So I mean, that is what it is. Now, what has changed since launch? Throughout the game cycle, there has been a few balance changes that have actually been needed, whether it's from community criticism or just from what developers have seen and have decided to work on. One major one was the result of an update that had come out before, where essentially if you were to throw a break, which anybody at any level pretty much needs to do, you would take damage or chip damage for doing so, which I believe is actually quite unfair. When I read the patch notes on the day that the update came out, I honestly didn't know how it made it into the base game or past, I guess, the testing phase. And clearly a lot of other people in the community were with me on that. There was like an uproar about it, and eventually went back to normal after some balancing. That's not to say that the game is at its best point right now, but you know, it's getting better. For DLC characters, some have been better received than others. I personally play Lydia. She's the character that I've got the highest rank on and probably the most playtime on. She was in Tekken 7, but I don't mind paying. I pay a lot of money for stuff in video games, so it doesn't really matter. And the character was pretty cheap anyway, and I enjoy her. But other characters like Fakumram, Clive, and Anna haven't exactly been received with open hands or open arms, essentially, for multiple reasons, like poor balancing, people saying Clive and Anna too OP, and maybe just poor choice in DLC character. They've decided that they're going to be releasing Armor King soon, and I guess I don't know, maybe it's their way of trying to save the game and make players happy with a character that people actually want after Falcon was announced. They added him in, and he's not a whole lot different. They've just adjusted him to the new game, and that's about it. In my personal opinion, I think if you want to play DLC characters, you can. I think you can have fun with every single character in the game. It's just up to you. From my experience, online and ranked have been fine. I don't really have many problems apart from other people having poor internet, and that just kind of ruins the game. But if you've got poor internet on a fighting game, I don't see the point, really. But I do feel like anything else is really like a nitpick or something. I think the online scene is fine, and obviously it's always something to be improved. It's fine per se, but it could be very good or it could be great. But I think right now that's not a major problem to be talking about. Obviously the developers have been trying to improve it, but you know, it is what it is. So the tournament side of the game, it's doing pretty well, considering for this year's Evo it had the second most participants, below only to Street Fighter 6, of course. And in general, there were a good few tournaments this year, even though we're only halfway through the year, for Tekken 8 specifically. People like to complain about the monetization within the game, but I feel like these are things that could not so much be ignored, but you can. So people like to make the argument that there's too much monetization, but you don't have to go into the shop if you. I don't know. I don't see how too much monetization can be a problem unless it's obstructing you from navigating systems and playing the game in general, which I don't think it is, because it obviously, when you open the game, it shows you stuff like a pop-up ad like, hey, this is what's in the shop, and you can just go that and go straight to playing the game. So I really don't feel like that's an excuse to be made, but some people still like to complain about it. While saying that, the monetization has been lackluster. However, that is something that can be complained about. Some maybe lazy parts that have been added for people to buy, and there's just like no point, because it actively adds nothing to your character in terms of character creation. And the thing is, within the game, the customization of characters is very good, especially compared to other fighting games, but it's not good when you add something there's just no point in adding. I feel like the developers for the game have a lot to improve on, considering how the player base has dropped, you could say. Every, I guess, live service game is going to have a drop, but I think this has had a little bit more than it should have if good updates were consistent, which it hasn't been. And that's why every now and then less and less players are logging in, and I think they do have to do something and get new players in. Now, for player experience, in my personal experience, I guess, with fighting games, if you are new to the game or in the fighting game genre in general, Tekken 8 is one of, if not the hardest games to learn. This is simply because of the amount of knowledge that you need to get essentially a base understanding of the game, putting into consideration the amount of moves that every character has, their playstyles, so on and so forth. But yeah, in general, you're going to need to put a good amount of time into learning the game until you feel like you're okay. If you're a returning player to the series or haven't played the latest game since it came out, you'll need to get yourself used to the new systems that have been introduced, and perhaps how good other characters are compared to the others, like I guess the hierarchy or like tier list stuff like that. But apart from that, it should be fine. Even though there are characters that are more obviously more powerful than others. If you want to play the game competitively, you, I think, essentially have two choices. You either learn the meta characters as the meta changes and simply become, how good you are at the game yourself will be improved no matter which of these two you do. However, it's quicker to get into a higher rank and into competitive if you just simply play the better characters. Or you could simply, if it's more of an enjoyment thing, you could play one character and just get good enough at the game under that one character as to where nerfs or buffs don't affect how good you perform on said character. Sometimes people don't like staying with one character and they like learning a few characters, which is fine. But I feel like going around the meta characters is just a faster way. But it can get boring if you like only one specific character. Obviously, not everyone is into one-tricking, but in fighting games, it's just much more probable that that's what will happen, since it makes the game much easier to learn that way. Because different characters give different perspectives towards a fighting game in general. In terms of how it's doing to other fighting games on the market, I think it's still doing pretty well, despite all of the controversy and mixed reviews towards the game. I've been playing Street Fighter recently, and I personally enjoy the game more than Tekken as of right now, and I feel like it's a better game right now. However, I would still recommend Tekken 8. By no means do I not like it right now. I still go back and play it too. I also feel like it's not doing too bad compared to some other fighting games like Mortal Kombat 1, which has, in my opinion, had a much worse turn of events, and it's just not doing well at all. You look on the Evo list today, and it's actually at the bottom. One more game has more votes than it, and it wouldn't be introduced into Evo for this year, which is crazy, since it's kind of seen as like one of the big three of, I guess you could say, a big three of fighting games. In conclusion, I feel like if you're looking for a competitive and complicated fighting game with, you could say, a semi-active player base, then I think Tekken 8 is one of the right games for you. However, I wouldn't buy the game at full price. I'd wait for it until it goes on sale, something like that. But yeah, if you have your own opinions on the game, whether you play it or not, do share it in the comments. But that is about it.